What is going on? Another fantastic week for all my outdoor fiends. Fiends, man. This was the weekend that, it's RedBud. RedBud! Oh, man. There was guys actually getting mad when they would yell it and nobody would yell it back. And we're like, dude, we're trying to have like a conversation, and people walking by yelling RedBud every 2 seconds makes it pretty hard to do that. But I love the energy, fella. Keep it up. This week, as always, brought to you by Bro Taco Hot Sauce, www.brotacofoods.com. Use code PTTG for 20% off your purchase. I know tomorrow I'm going to drop some more. I'm getting a little low, especially I haven't replaced that broken bottle that I had a couple weeks ago yet. And then I got to order some more for like my mom and brother and all them. Just do one big old group order using the code PTTG. Help Sean out. He seems bored. I haven't seen him post on the old Book of Faces for a while. So, although I haven't had phone service for the last like 4 or 5 days, but give him something to do. Filled up the little bottles. Also, Sunstar Sprockets and Chains, sunstar-braking.com. Finally got a promo code up. I am technologically stupid, so sorry it took so long. Clicking all the buttons, crashing the site, fun stuff like that. But code PTTG during checkout to get 30% off your order. If you have any questions, please feel free to email support@sunstar-braking.com. Also, powertotheground.com, where it all started. Jesse's been working pretty tirelessly on the website. Make sure you stop by, say what's up, get in on some pick'ems. Just see what he's been doing. He's always sending us updates and stuff like that on what he's working on. I don't know. I haven't been on it since I've been home, but I know he was working on it this weekend.
Something fancy.
Yeah. And then also, this podcast is powered by Nova Pro Media. They're the ones that make sure that we got all our little buttons to click, webcams, holders, all that fun stuff. Also the one behind the website. Other than that, it's RedBud weekend. I do have some rants about RedBud in general, more the promoter, which, I was going off on text message, man. I was so fucking mad, dude. Like, that's the only time I've ever been so mad that my watch gave me an abnormal heart rate detected. Dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was mad, man. But it's we'll get into all that. And that was, I almost didn't even get to attend the race. I was so mad. But other than that, well, shit, I guess we better just start from the top. Let's just start with that. That was literally Saturday morning, going into the track, like 7:30 in the morning, waiting in traffic for like 40 minutes to get in there because I could only go through a certain gate because of the ticket that I had, which isn't a big deal. And then I get up there and I hand her my tickets and she says, they're no good here. You have to buy general admission passes as well as the VIP pass that we sent you for being close by or whatever. So then I had to pay for general admission passes on top of the VIP stuff. And they're like, well, it says on our website. And I'm like, you sent them to me directly, like to my email. I printed them. Like, I didn't go onto your website. And then I pulled it up, like the Pro Motocross or whatever, to buy tickets. She's like, no, you have to go to the RedBUDDMX.com website. I'm like, who the fuck buys tickets from there? And the worst part was, it wasn't just me, man. We had like Acer Bees behind me, the local AMS Oil rep, the local Hoosier rep. There was another company back there too, one of the suspension companies. They all ran into the same thing where they sent us tickets and then they neglected to tell anybody.
You also had to get your own normal tickets.
Yeah. It's legitimately cheaper for me just to go sign up for amateur days and hang out in the paddock. Like,
that doesn't even make sense to send you VIP. Even if they would have included in there, why just be like, send you free
Well, I guess it's just for like the hut. Like you have to pay to get in, and then like it's like getting bottle service at a club, I guess. I don't know. I've only ever done it at Iron Man, and I just walk up and I'm like, "Hey man, what's up?" You know, and I hand them that and they're like, "Cool, here's your wristband, have fun." Like it was weird. And then after running around talking to everybody throughout the whole morning back in the pits, they were all telling me like, dude, Red Bud is the most expensive track. Like nickel and dime you for everything the whole weekend that you're there. So if you do go watch Red Bud live, just remember that. Don't run into a situation like I did and a couple of the other fellas that are running around all the different tracks trying to catch up with some of our guys and make sure people are taken care of, not only for amateur days, but on the pro days also. The amateur days, I got so mad I just left. I didn't even hang out, man.
Really? Even on amateur day?
Yeah.
Oof.
So that's kind of my rant. But I also figured out that it's not actually MX Sports that does the Red Bud race. Red Bud has its own promotion company that puts on the Pro National race.
I thought all the individual tracks were their own promoters that put them on.
Yeah, but a lot of them still use MX Sports to help do a lot of the stuff, like the ticket sales and stuff like that. Dude,
okay.
Red Bud was the last track on the whole national circuit for the past like 5 or 6 years that I haven't been to. And it was definitely not the racing was great. Once I got everything settled, it was great. Like my accommodations off the track were great. But that like 30 minutes arguing with him, man, was not great at all. Like, I don't know. It almost ruined the whole weekend for me, man. And then
real easy.
Oh yeah. And then they weren't like nice about it either. Like we were trying to like have them explain to us like what they're talking about, you know, like why is it like this? And they're like, "Oh, well, we can't tell you. It just is what it is." And I'm like, that is not an answer. So the whole weekend ended up costing me like an additional $600 or something like that to get to all the races, as well as buying tickets the day of at the gate, holding everybody up. It was insane. Yeah.
You need to organize that a little bit better.
Yeah. Or at least like one sentence in the email. I even brought up the email. I showed them and they're like, "Oh, well, it's supposed to say that." I'm like, "Well, it doesn't." But that was kind of my rant, man. I was so mad. Like I said, it was the first time I've ever set off I'm a pretty even keel person, you know, like it takes a lot of shit to stack up to get me going, man. It's the first time since having smartwatches in general available to the general public that I've set off an abnormal heart rate detection from being mad.
At least everybody left alive. So that's
oh positive. Yeah. I mean, I thought a couple of the other guys that were standing there with us, because we ended up going to like the promoter had their own little like, not like a coach, but it was like a trailer, like had that all set up, and they took us over there to try to get it all sorted out. And like the other guys were just as mad, man. Like if you're gonna do something cool like that, like at least give us a heads up. Mm-hmm. You know, like that would be excellent. But besides that, the pits were open, so I got to go wander around. My wife almost got hit by Christian Craig. We didn't realize
that would have been a memorabilia piece right there. Check out this bruise from Christian Craig's bike.
Oh yeah. Like, so we were walking down, and I had just stopped, and who was I talking to? One of the mechanics for Rocky Mountain. I was standing there talking to him, and then like they were getting ready to bring the bikes in because it was right after practice or whatever. And I saw 2 star bikes go behind me, and I wasn't even thinking about Craig being on the 450 for outdoors. And so like turned around and started walking. My wife's on my left, so she turned around and ended up like right through the bike path or whatever. And there was a huge puddle, and you could tell he's like trying to avoid the puddle but not hit my wife at the same time. So I had to like, whoa, like we almost got it. He was cool. Like we walked by, and I was like, "What's up, Christian?" Like, have a great weekend. He's like, thanks, buddy. Like, it was cool, you know, like that is the one nice thing about moto, man, is it's not every sport that you can just walk by as soon as somebody gets off the track and have an interaction with them. Mm-hmm. You know, like I got to talk to Joe Shimoda this weekend too. He was lining up with one of my buddies that was getting ready to go off for practice, and the A group was getting ready to go. And I got to talk to him for a quick minute, just kind of sitting there in the staging area. It was, I mean, dude, that dude's awesome. He's quickly becoming my favorite 250 rider. Like, he's sitting there trying to get a start device all ready to go to pull up to do practice starts and stuff. And I was just bullshitting with him, and he had all the time in the world to talk to me, man. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then it's, I wish I had service up there, because I would have live streamed the whole thing. You know, like if my phone dies, it's whatever. All I was doing was talking to you and Jesse the whole time anyway. And it very easily could have waited until I got back to the hotel. But being able to live stream stuff like that. And we were trying on my wife's phone, my work phone. Like, the iPhones worked better up there than the Android phones for whatever reason. They got like one extra bar of service to where you could actually send text messages out. It was weird.
You need to get on that Starlink satellite Wi-Fi program at all these tracks now when that stuff starts becoming available.
When I was at Loretta's last year, they had something like that, where if you were in the VIP section or like the industry section, you could connect to Wi-Fi that was set up specifically for that area, and it was pretty nice. Of course, that was kind of before we started doing a lot of this stuff. Like, I was still just the guy in the comment section talking a lot of shit, you know? And so, like, there wasn't really any reason to live stream and stuff like that. So, but it was like that for all the races down there, which was pretty nice.
Well, that area's got a little bit more just internet availability in general. I don't know too much about Buchanan, Michigan, but I imagine it's one of those areas where just internet period is hard. Much less.
It's pretty built up through there, like Niles, Buchanan, South Bend, all those areas. I mean, South Bend is where Notre Dame is, man. So it's like there's quite a bit there, you know. And both of it's just kind of where the track is. It's Buchanan, but it's kind of not, you know, like it's way out there. So it's just kind of the way it is. And then where we were staying at, which was called the Morris Estate, it was the same way, man. I mean, you saw the pictures. It was it's out in the middle of nowhere. I loved it. Get 4 days of almost no cell phones, no internet, no TV, stuff like that. Just kind of being a human and running around. But it made getting stuff done and talking to you guys to get everything set up a little weird. But
yeah, I can feel that. Just having to be back today after being gone to the beach for a week, be back today, like being able to just sit so immersed in the computer all day. I kind of forgot what that last week was. It was nice to be able to just walk away from stuff.
Oh yeah. Plus it was Red Bud weekend, man. And them Yamaha boys destroyed LaRocco's Leap all day.
They killed it.
Day. Oh yeah. That's I don't know. Let's jump into 250s, man. I don't have any of the caption drops done for 250s and stuff.
So let's see. So what do you want to?
Maybe I can start with this.
Overalls.
Yeah, we can.
Oh, okay.
I am.
Oh, you're trying to pull it?
Yeah.
Pull it up just on the screen. I'll give you a second.
F2. See, they give us all these fancies, man. I gotta play with stuff. There we go. All right. Hopefully you guys can see this. Is it coming up?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, it's there, but it's a little small. But we'll read it off anyways. So for our overalls,
let me turn chat off real quick. Might get bigger. That's a little bigger.
A little bit. So for our 250 overalls, we got RJ Hampshire in first place with a 2-2 for the weekend. Justin Cooper finishing in second place overall with a 4-1. Jet Lawrence finishing with a 1/6 for third overall. Hunter Lawrence with a 3-4 for fourth overall. And the broken man, Jeremy Martin, with a 5-3
Dude,
for fifth overall.
he was impressive to watch, especially coming through the rollers and then the leap and then up into the start finish. He had such an aggressive posture going through there compared to some of the other guys, even in the rest of the top five. Like, he was feeling it. I don't know how his injuries were.
And that's amazing considering, we'll get into it, but it's just amazing considering, the idea of generally how you ride when you're hurt.
Yeah.
Is not usually the best form. And for him to be able to ride like he did with the injuries he had is.
Oh, yeah. It was, he, like I said, he was in attack position quite a lot of it, and then old Joe Shimoda, he had decent starts. He's just, I don't know, those top five guys are fast. So,
yeah, I mean, if he started 9th, 7th, and he moved up to finish 6th and 5th in both motos, that's just a matter of, he moved up 3 and 2 positions, but there were just 5 other guys, 5 or 6 or 5 and 4 respectively other guys in front of him each moto that he just didn't get to catch because he didn't start in front of them.
Oh, yeah.
And there weren't that many guys in that. Well, there's just not that many guys in that class period that can kind of catch that many people and pass them.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, yeah, he did good.
And then right behind Joe, we have like the who's who of the freshman and sophomore class. You got Pierce Brown, Styles Robertson, old Maximus, Jalik, Marchbanks, who kind of doesn't fit that, but then Kitchen and Thrasher right behind them. Levi Kitchen, I don't know if you're familiar with who Levi Kitchen is, except for maybe what they said on the broadcast, which I didn't watch. But he was definitely a top prospect coming out of pro sport. For the last couple of years, held off on going pro for a little bit, and then just made his debut this weekend. But he's watching him come up through the amateur ranks. That kid is good. And then hopefully he can carry this momentum on throughout the rest of the races that he's going to be running.
Yeah, so, I haven't heard which ones he's going to run. I think this is the last one he's going to run until Loretta's.
I mean, it might be just do one race and then wait.
Yeah. Which kind of makes you wonder, if that had something to do with his Moto 2 performance not being that hot, because I don't think they talked about it on the broadcast about why he went from 15th to 19th versus 14th up to 9th in the first one. But yeah, I mean, there was definitely a lot of talk about how's he going to do? Is he going to go out there, do okay the first moto, and then the second moto be like, okay, yeah, I did all right, and just kind of slow down,
Yeah,
just to see what he was running with, or I guess it would have just depended on. It could have been entirely different if he would have been able to get a top 5 start. Maybe he would have said, "Screw it, I'm going to see if I can run with these guys." But there's a whole lot of potential if factors for a guy that's never raced a pro national, that doesn't need to finish the pro national. How he's going to do and what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I think the two three crazy names to see in the top 21 positions are Austin Fortner with the 16th overall, Colt Nichols with the 17th overall, and Michael Mosman with the 21st overall.
So Nichols had a mechanical, I think, in the second one.
He didn't even.
So
that would have been the first moto because he was credited with, or at the first lap of the second moto, because he was credited with a 40th.
Yeah,
for the start position in Moto 2.
I didn't catch what happened. Now,
I
Moseman
didn't catch it
surprises
either.
me. And
Yeah, he just went
Forkner,
down both times or two
yeah,
times, and he couldn't. He made up some. He made up some spots in Moto 2, but just not enough to cover. Um,
Forkner did not look comfortable all day.
well, I imagine
Like watching
after
him come around.
he was one of the first people, one of the first pros in 250 to just really case leap, wasn't he? Or were you there at that point?
I was probably running around out back, man. I didn't watch a lot of the practices. I watched some parts of some of them, but I didn't like sit there and watch it. I didn't see any 250 guys hit the leap that stand out to me.
Yeah, he was.
I think
It was early in the morning, but way before it was even on TV. When somebody on one of the Discord servers who was there watching it said that Fortner just cased it. I feel like first thing in the morning.
I don't know. I was there. I just don't remember hearing anything about it. I was running around out in Privateer Island, man. So I wasn't around a lot of the pro guys when they were coming in and out of practice, but except to show my wife some of the bikes and haulers and stuff like that. But I had more fun hanging out in Privateer Island.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't blame you if I was there doing what you were doing. I'd be hanging out with the guys and watch practice again later.
But that's round 4 out of 12. Our 250 points got the old donut man himself
at 172.
Yeah, we got Justin Cooper this weekend.
Made up 3 or 4 points on him.
Yeah, with his starts though, man, it was for whatever reason it didn't look like he was carrying as much speed through the front side of the track. The side opposite of the hill with the rollers and the leap. For whatever reason, it just didn't look like he was carrying as much speed as some of these other guys later in the races. And I don't know, I couldn't see that side of the track very well from where I chose to kind of hang out at. But it's that's what it looked like to me, is he was just losing too much speed going through there, and he's got his starts dialed. I mean, he's got more hole shots than anybody else in the class combined, almost. So
yeah. He had it. I think his case this weekend was, I mean, we saw it in the first moto. He went down on the finish line.
Yeah.
At the first lap, after the first lap, technically. And he went down to 4th or 7th and then made it back up to 4th by lap 3 when he crossed the line for lap 3, and then just stayed there. There's no discredit to him, because you don't just stay in 4th place in this class. It's just that by the time he went from 7th to 4th, those other guys were gone,
Oh yeah.
And it just would have been too hard. And who knows, maybe that just rattled him and he just didn't have what he needed to do. And I want to say, I missed it when I watched it again this afternoon. I want to say he went down one time again in the second moto, but he just didn't lose a position. But I might be thinking about RJ.
RJ went down a couple times.
Going down, getting back up, going down, and getting back up. And then, but Cooper did that in the second moto, though, if I'm not mistaken, where he'd go down, get back up.
I don't know, but this class is quickly becoming a 2-person shootout.
Yeah, something would have to happen to one of those two for it not to turn into one of the, battle from them. Because over the course for it to end up where it is with them, they've both kind of traded off a 4th and a 6th and a 5th and a 4th here and there. Yeah. But the rest of the results are 1s, 2s, and 3s. And somebody else is going to have to, one of them is going to have a really, really bad race for it to open back up to Hunter or RJ or get knocked out for the next. How many? What is that? 1, 2, 3. I don't know, 12 to 14 motos. For them to not be there. So that's going to maybe get kind of boring. But these motos are not boring.
The second 250 moto was pretty boring, man. I'm not going to lie. A lot of people went and got drinks and food after about halfway through it. Yeah. Yeah, it was once those guys got spread out about 2-3 seconds throughout the top 5, it got like each one of them was 2 or 3 seconds behind the next guy. So it was it got a little boring watching, at least there,
They might have just done a better job on the broadcast, making it seem a little bit interesting.
Yeah. There was some great battles, don't get me wrong, but it was not 100% what I was hoping for after the first one, and especially after watching. So you had a great 250 Moto 1 with RJ and Jet going back and forth, and then you had a great 450, and then the second 250, everyone was super stoked, and it just kind of didn't happen that way. But the second 450 was on fire, so it made up for it in my mind. But
and Moto 1, I haven't looked it up yet, but since you were there, do you know what happened to Harlan? Why he only finished 6 laps? Was it a bike malfunction or did he get hurt?
I didn't see it happen on the other side of the track. So I just remember seeing him come by, and then not ever seeing him again. So
I didn't know if you heard while you were there. No. I have to look into that and see.
Yeah, I didn't hear anything. Who else was it? There was a couple. Marv broke down right in front of me. I heard that one. I was telling you I pissed off the KTM guys.
Front wheel.
Is that what it was? I didn't see what it was.
Yeah, he had a wheel
I just saw him come up, rev the shit out of it, and then just stopped. Didn't move. So that's of course I was telling you I pissed off the KTM guys by telling him he should have showed up with a Yamaha to finish the race. And some guys took offense to that, apparently. Everyone else thought it was funny. So I'm sorry. Do. Yeah. I'm sorry to you two. You two wear a Chinese-made KTM factory racing pit shirt to a pro moto. They got mad at some guy yelling about Yamaha. My bad. I am sorry. Life will go on.
It'll go on.
Right.
Let's see. Oh, then they didn't show him too much on the broadcast, but one of the big ifs for this weekend was Jalek. Was he gonna do something semi-spectacular? I mean, I don't think anybody really expected him to get an overall again. But
it wasn't bad, man.
Is that just where, 10th in this class really isn't that bad, but it still kind of hurts considering you just got an overall last weekend?
I don't think it hurts with the overall last weekend at all. I mean, 10th place is about where you would expect him, especially when you look at the company from 7th through 15th. I mean, that is all right in his basically what I would call graduating class from amateurs. They're all within a year or two up and down of each other, so it's like, where do you want him to be at, especially in a long, fast track like that?
Well, I think outside of his overall last weekend, that's about where I would expect him to. Yeah, I think it was more of a. Do you consider last week a fluke, or maybe whatever they thought they found last week at that track for him and his feeling, or for the bike, just something that just really worked at that track that he couldn't relate. But then you've got RJ, who was clearly doing well last week, minus the chain, or at the last race, and then he also does well this weekend, but Jalek's not there. What was it? Obviously, the Huskies did well that weekend.
Yeah.
But the 250 Huskies weren't there this weekend. Maybe it was just RJ able to do that extra little bit that the bike couldn't make up for if it was a bike feeling thing.
Well, I think some of it has to do with RedBud does have kind of like a sandy-ish consistency. At least it did this weekend. And if you look at where RJ rides and trains, it does kind of, and grew up riding. I think that covers quite a bit of that, where he might be a little bit more used to that sandy, like loam type track. Plus, you have to figure, how long has RJ been running a 250? You know, it's been quite a while that he's been in the class. So I expect RJ to be in the top 5 almost every weekend, whereas Jalik, I'm just happy to see him in the top 12. You know? So I can't take anything away from him last weekend, but even he said, like, on the Pulp Show and on the broadcast, when they're like, what happened that changed from like an 8th or 9th overall the time before to an overall? And he's like, I have no idea. You know, so that should have told you not to set your hopes super high. That it just clicked last weekend for him. And I mean, even a blind squirrel gets a nut every once in a while, man. So it's, I mean, it's good on him. Now he knows what it feels like. He got the first one out of the way. Now he can just focus on getting top 5s every weekend, and then top 3s. And then he'll be, I fully expect him to win probably an outdoor in his 250 career in the next maybe 3-4 years. You know, I expect him to be a champ, to be running that red plate. He's good outside, man. So indoors is still kind of, you know, he's not bad, but he's not like, oh my gosh, like watch Jalik go through here, you know. But outdoors, that kid's got skills, man. In the next 2 or 3 years, we're hopefully going to be doing a broadcast, and we'll be like, you remember when we were talking about his first overall? You know?
Yeah.
And we'll be like, yeah. But I think between him and Styles, they're definitely going to be battling for championships here in the next couple of years, man.
It should be exciting for sure.
Yeah. You just got to remember he's a young guy.
Yeah, it was just, it was a curious thing I was thinking about, of kind of what's the way to look at it. For that. Yeah, definitely at the end of the day, definitely can't take anything away from him for getting overall and then not this weekend. But I think too, part of it might be when you're pointing out the track. I think this track and the leap, but not just the leap. This is one of those things where if you had a guy like RJ or Justin that could manage the leap and do that, that's just a huge. I think there was a big differentiator between those top 4 or 5 guys this weekend and everybody else.
Yeah,
because of that reason.
The thing with the leap that makes it so hard, that you really need a bike that comes out of the hole super hard and cojones to ride it like that, is they keep moving that turn coming up to the face of the jump. They keep moving it closer to the face as the bikes get faster. So it's not, I mean, if it was the same track layout from like 5 or 6 years ago, all the 250 guys would be hitting it, you know. Instead, they're like third gear spun out on the factory 450s trying to hit it, you know. So, and that's not a very like long run to really dig in and get momentum to clear that. So I can't really blame too many of the 250 guys for not wanting to.
Oh yeah, it's a life prolonging decision, or championship, a season prolonging decision.
Oh yeah,
for this race to. I imagine if it were the last race of the season, a few more of them would have been trying it, been like, it's totally worth it. But 4 rounds in, it's not worth it. So maybe, man, I don't know. Maybe it's just funny, seeing last week him, and it's just one of those things I think is going to be interesting to watch next weekend too, because, Jalik's been riding, he's from Florida. He's been riding down there at Florida. So the sand stuff shouldn't be that big of a thing for him, but it might have just been the difference this weekend where RJ said, "Screw it, I'm sending it," and Jake's like, "I'm not."
Yeah,
No, I don't need to. I don't need to this weekend, and maybe when it comes to Southwick, we might see something come back from him.
yeah.
I think
Plus,
it'll be interesting to watch.
you still have to remember how long RJ's been riding that bike with the same team, and just running the 250 series in general, especially compared to Jalik, who I can't remember what bike he was running in amateurs, but I'm pretty sure that it wasn't a Husky. I don't think it was. I can't remember right off the top of my head though.
I don't remember either.
But it's Michael said that he saw on Twitter Harlan got a hole in a cover, which makes sense. There was actually a lot of broken cases that week or this past weekend.
Yeah,
that track was not nice on equipment.
yeah, that'll mess with some people for sure.
Oh yeah,
Getting it pumped in there. Let's see, 250. Let's see. Yeah, I think this is just an interesting track for a lot of different people for being able to send it and getting some different results. Oh, I know one thing. Did you happen to hear exactly what happened to Russell? I know on the broadcast they showed somebody casing or somebody's bike locking up and coming off a jump midair, and they thought it was Russell when they were talking about it, but I don't think it ended up being Russell. But I honestly haven't heard exactly why he didn't finish so hot this weekend.
well, you have to remember he didn't finish hot last weekend either. But
he
finished
way better than he did this weekend.
Yeah, he so he looked good and everything. The bike sounded all right when he was coming by, but he's also still, I think his jaw is still partially wired shut.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that track was extremely rough. I don't know if you could tell from the broadcast, but a lot of guys that I were talking to were saying that the track was more rough than what it typically is year to year. So I wonder if if you're in pain, your fatigue levels are going to go up a lot faster than if you're not, So I wonder if maybe that had something to do with it.
Maybe he just wasn't feeling it.
Yeah, but he didn't look uncomfortable, but he didn't look comfortable, if that makes sense. Like you could tell he was still trying to attack the track and attack whoever was in front of him, but it something just looked off, especially watching Caleb run in the woods for the past 10 years. Seeing him at least one weekend a month through most of the months of the year, following GNCC like I do, you could definitely tell it wasn't the Caleb Russell that I know Caleb Russell is.
I would say he actually just put up an update 26 minutes ago. Crashed in Moto 1, re-aggravated some existing injuries. Moto 2 came from near last up to 20s, only to run over his own ankle and cause further damage to his injuries. So yeah, he just had a
shit weekend, man.
Literally beat himself up, and like you said, the injuries wasn't doing himself any favors.
There was guys that were running around in the pits that were actually saying the braking bumps going into most of the turns were so big they were doubling them going into the turns. They were like, it was easier to seat bounce the braking bumps to jump into a turn than it was to try to get through the braking bumps.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. And that was through practice. Where most of the big ones were on the other side of the track, so I didn't see them during the main motos or whatever.
Yeah.
But when they were talking about it, man, I was like, what? Like, that's insane. That's just crazy.
That's rough. Yeah, I guess it's just one of the, that's something that you're going to end up with when it's not super ruddy.
Yeah.
And, really single lined through the track, which we could talk about with some of the 450 stuff, because those 450 guys were using up Well,
all
even
of
some of
it.
the 250 guys, there were plenty of corners where Jet, when he was on a roll, you could see him just flying from outside to inside to outside on some of those corners, just
Oh
all the
yeah,
way to the outside, using up the whole corner, just carrying that speed. And it was so,
oh yeah.
I
That's the
don't
way.
like talking about Jet a lot, but he looked
Yeah, you do.
really good
Oh
riding
yeah,
on that track this weekend when he was flying.
oh yeah. Let me throw this up real quick. Window tab. Bam. Get rid of this little guy and zoom in.
450s. So let's see the 450 overall results for Red Bud. First place, Mr. Dylan Ferrandis with a 1-2 for the weekend. Second place, where'd he come from? Eli Tomac with a 4-1 moto finishes. And then Mr. AP Red Bud Embracer himself with a 3-3 for the weekend, a third place overall. Whole shot, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, in both
Whole
motos.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah. And then fourth place overall with second and first moto, sixth and second moto is Mr. Ken Roxon. And fifth overall, Christian Craig with a 5-5 in fifth place. And then, honorable mention, Chase Sexton, because we'll end up talking about him, but with a 8-4, he finished sixth overall for the weekend.
I think my honorable mention has to go to old Brandon Hartranft.
Well, I was definitely going to bring him up.
Man, he looked good this weekend. An 11-13, but being on a yellow bike and beating out your what is supposed to be the team's number one guy with Max.
Max had a shit weekend. I can't wait to hear if he talks about it, because apparently he was not excited this weekend, and he's not one to turn down interviews, but he turned down some interviews. From what I heard this weekend.
Brandon was attacking people though.
Well, even if Max would have finished in 8th, the fact that Brandon finished 10th, is good. I mean, his post-race interviews, I mean, you could hear the weekends, Supercross, anything. When he's had a good weekend, you can hear him just be excited. Goofy excited, and he was pumped for it. I've got an interview pulled up for him right now that I haven't watched yet. Afterwards, that I'm excited to listen to, because I want to see it. But that's one where, Julie getting an overall 10th this weekend, it is what it is. I don't want this to be Brandon getting a random 10th and then not, because I don't like how he handles bad performances. You can hear it. You can hear other people talking about it, his teammates, his friends. When he's not doing great, he's not doing great. And I want to see him be able to keep up at least 20 plus results, and he's been right there at it, because last on the 250s last year, he was, I think we talked about it in the preview stuff, I wanted to see what he was going to do, because last year in the 250s, he was doing really well. He had top 5 finishes a few times, and for him to kind of be running high 20s so far this year is a little meh,
Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's another one that I wanted to point out with old Justin Rodbell, man.
Summer Rodbell has started.
Yeah. That I don't know where he came from in that first moto, but holy cow. He was giving it everything that it had. Absolutely. What's amazing is everything.
Well, he was up 12 positions from 39th to 17th in that one, and he still did not win our drive of the race that we'll talk about.
39 to 17, I think, is more than 12, man.
22.
Yeah.
Still didn't win it. 22. I forgot 10 digits somewhere.
Yeah. That's But yeah, that's I mean, and then 20th to 16th too. Anytime that you get past like a top 15, I would say start, and you got to battle back to at least get around there to stay in the points, man, is a good one. And then there was also this guy down here in 39th position who I don't think anybody would recognize his name. Old Gerald Lorenz the third from Morris, Michigan. So this guy went out in the first practice for 450B, set his fast lap, came around again to try to do better on his fast lap, and cased Laraco's leap so hard that it actually split both cases. And he couldn't get another 450 case from anybody. Nobody had an extra one. And they had an extra 250 motor. So he actually got his 250 out and raced his 250 in the second moto for the 450 race. And he didn't come in last. Which is, yeah. He gave it hell, man. And that's he was actually pitted right next to one of my buddies, Eddie Morris, who was up there this weekend. And I mean, this kid was almost in tears when he found out that they couldn't find another 450 case. And if they did find it, I don't know if they would have had enough time to rebuild it, like literally have to rebuild a whole motor in the back of your van in between second practice or the practices and like the last chance qualifier or whatever. But he qualified into the show from his first practice time, which I thought was amazing, and then to go out there and know that you're going to be outmatched on power and everything. And still, I mean, he gave it everything he had to keep up with that 250, which
nuts.
Yeah. Like hats off to that kid, man. And everyone that was pitted with him to, keep him propped up and ready to go, despite the David versus Goliath, basically,
Yeah.
So hats off to them guys. And that's just watching them try to figure it all out and run around talking to everybody. Man, I felt so bad. I was like, I got a bunch of sprockets and chains in my bag, but I don't have any Yamaha 450 cases in my book bag. I wish I could help.
Didn't bring that suitcase.
Yeah, not this time. But it's other than that, Ferrandis was untouchable. It just they got to figure him out, man. So he was one of the only ones that consistently was jumping Laraco's leap, and I think it made the absolute world of difference. You could definitely see when they were going through and jumping it and all that. So the second moto was a prime example with Tomac. Tomac never jumped the leap all weekend that I know of. So it's and watching both Ferrandis and Plessinger chase him down through that section of the track only, which is where they made up the majority of their time from what I could tell by my old eyeball segment time, was it had to have been like close to quarter second for most of them with like a light case. And then with Ferrandis just absolutely making Laraco's leap his bitch this weekend, was gaining. It had to have been close to like a third or a fourth on those guys, man. Like he was absolutely destroying that thing. It was awesome to watch. And it was great to see Kenny like bring the old, the brass balls to really battle and try to jump that jump as much as he could. And he had that one real hard case and then he was kind of done with it, but that had to have hurt, especially having existing wrist and shoulder injuries to case that hard. That had to have taken the wind right out of his sails.
Well, I think they were talking, they made a point of that. I think there was one time where even they mentioned it for Jeremy Martin too, was that they were, if there was a time where it was going to look like that was going to mess you up, it would have been that. And the fact that he did it and then just kept going.
Oh
You're like,
yeah.
okay, maybe this isn't going to be as much of a issue as we
Yeah.
thought it was going to be, you know?
Yeah. And that's Jesse did bring up a good point too. Ferrandis with rollers, like you're not going to touch him on them. You know, like the way that dude can keep the back of his bike planted on the ground going through the rollers and just ride it like a sawhorse basically is absolutely insane. And he was carrying enough speed from pumping through all those rollers to double the last set.
Oh yeah, I saw him do
turn.
that so many times. It was so awesome. And one of the big things you could see for him in the rollers was especially right there at the end of the second moto where he and AP were in the rollers at the same time, and you could see just how much cleaner. Like we've talked about Ferrandis in the rollers, just keeping the rear wheel down, just standing up over and over and over again. Even when he wasn't doubling that last section of the rollers, just seeing him just keep the rear wheel down and go over and over. And AP had a much dirtier line that was somehow still semi close to the same speed, but not as smooth. To see it side by side is when you could just see really how much better it was.
Oh yeah, and it was. I mean, watch him at Ironman at the rollers before Godzilla if you want to see something like spectacular with a good view, because he's going across the track, not at you. And to watch him go through those and the back wheel never leave the ground and his body never change elevation with the bike is absolutely insane. Like I can't even explain it. It's poetry in motion, basically. But it's the rest of the guys in that field 100% have to figure out how to keep up with Ferrandis in the last 15 minutes of those motos. He just hangs out, stays within striking distance, waits for that, 10, 15 minutes left, and then drops the hammer on these boys. And somebody has to have an answer for him. But the last half of the motos it's obscene how much faster he seems, especially being at the tracks, like how much faster he seems in the last half of the motos. And I don't think anybody has an answer for him. He's almost like Tomac from a couple years back, man, just hanging out, waiting. Oh, halfway done. Let's charge. Nobody's going to touch him.
Well, yeah, not even just halfway, just the fact the whole time he did it, because that first moto, he went from 6th on the first lap to 1st.
Yeah. And,
that's not just 6 positions. That's the top 6 positions.
Oh, yeah.
That he charged through. And it is, you can't even say, oh, well, it was some other 6 guys that were up there this weekend. No, that was the top of the class that he just charged his way through.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was. Did you get to see while you were there at the track his interview after qualifying when he set the top qualifying? Blank on whatever they technically call it now, but when they brought him up to the podium for his fastest time,
you could tell it was Ferrandis, but I couldn't hear or really understand what he was saying.
Dude,
because there was just bikes starting around me and people yelling, and I couldn't hear everything.
He just literally said, "Holy cow, this track is perfect. I love it." And just went on to, and as soon as he said that, you knew, like, okay, this is it. This is over.
It's over.
Yeah. Yeah. He literally said, like, this is a perfect track. I love the way it is, riding it. And I mean, even just sitting there watching it and seeing him murder the top time in that session. Whew, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They can't keep letting him do this.
No. And that's the thing though. Like the next race next weekend or whatever, really watch though. 'Cause he'll hang out. If it's been like it has been for the last couple motos, not just this weekend, but like the last overall motos, really watch, because he'll hang out top 3, top 4, And then as soon as it's halfway done, that's when you're going to start seeing him really start adding pressure. And that's even on the first moto when he went from 6 to 1. I think he hung out in third place, just working on AP for quite a number of laps. And then at the same time, he started working on Roxon, and it was really entertaining to see. It took him a lot longer to get around AP than it did Roxon, it felt like, but he didn't start really pushing hard until on those guys until he knew that he had the fitness advantage, I felt like.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't have any real solid words to describe just how nuts it was. Just how fast he went. I do know in Moto 2, I was pulling it up. One of the things that surprised me was I want to make sure I've got the right battles too that I'm talking on. I'm not getting my Moto 1 and Moto 2 stats mixed up. Yeah. Last lap of the race, Moto 2, Tomac and Ferrandis set their fastest times of Moto 2 last lap.
Oh, you could tell that as soon as AP started putting pressure on Tomac, you could see them both ramp it up. And then once Ferrandis came in and showed a fender, and Tomac realized that Ferrandis was in between him and AP, you saw the pace pick up. Mm-hmm. And you could still see Ferrandis. I mean, if it was one more lap left, I think Ferrandis probably would have got him. I mean, he closed up a gap quick, and he like another one where he just didn't seem tired when it was done. He was like, "Oh, it's a good race," you know. Like, I'm gonna go get ready for the next one now. Bye, you know.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, they dropped. Tomac dropped over 2 seconds from lap 15 to 16, which is the last lap. And Ferrandis was already going faster, much faster, on lap 14 and 15 than Tomac was. But he dropped another second and a half.
Yeah, and you could see it on the track too. Like there was nothing left of that track that they didn't take with them. It was insane. It was awesome to watch. And you could tell that Tomac knew it wasn't his race, you know, like he was not guaranteed a win at all. When you see that white and blue 14 pull up behind you, you know, you better find that extra gear and give it all the juice that your bike has, because he's going to do it. You know, he's the only one in this field right now that I think has the old ET3 outdoor fitness and power on that bike. He's the only one I think they can mount a comeback like that. And he almost had them too. When they came by me on that last lap, they were almost fender to fender. It was insane. And I think the biggest factor in watching how fast he was, though, was him hitting the leap clean so many times, time after time after time.
Repeatable.
And it made such a big difference. And it was crazy that he was the only one. Well, AP, when he did like the sky wheelie, he basically did a kiss of death. When he would send it like that, he would clear it. But when he would just try to jump and get ready to attack going into that next turn, he would case it a little bit or bounce out. But Ferrandis didn't give a shit about that next turn, man. His whole goal was to land clean on the backside and then worry about the turn. And that's I think that's what made the race for him, man. It's just that mentality. The dude's a bulldog, man.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see these next 3 races in a row. I mean, clearly Francis's, program of I want nothing to do with anything other than racing dirt bikes is doing really well for him.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see. I've got no reason to believe his fitness won't hold up, but to see if his fitness is just that it stays here while everybody else might kind of go down a half percentage each race over the next 3 as it's getting hotter, and then just 4 weekends in a row, whereas maybe Ferrandis is like, oh no guys, I can do this in my sleep, no worries. And see what the rest of these 3 races look like with him putting out a performance like that on his first one.
And I mean, we had the old attack dog AP, man, coming out of nowhere. Nobody was ready for him this weekend.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, that was amazing. 2 hole shots, and that's even with a 3-3. I mean, that's just proof you got to start up front to finish up front.
Oh yeah,
he held off everybody else except for 2 guys that were just clearly faster than everybody else this weekend, and that's not a bad program to be on.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I think if Roczen didn't tuck the front wheel on that second moto, we would have saw a really good battle between him and Aaron again in the second moto. It looked like they were really gearing up to go to battle, but with Roczen kind of dumping it like that, it definitely gave AP time to start attacking Tomac a little harder as well, which turned out to be a really good race also. So, but there was a lot of people that were mad that Tomac wasn't hitting the leap because they could see AP and Ferrandis, Roczen, they were all, at least Roczen was giving it what he could, but he came up short quite a few times. But AP and Ferrandis were so much faster than Tomac going through there, like noticeably faster going through there. And people were getting pissed at Tomac that he was going to throw it away because he wasn't hitting the leap, which I kind of found that ironic because usually Tomac he's not afraid to be the fastest guy on the track without a benefit of a doubt,
But I think that's just, I mean, it's fun from a trackside fan perspective to give him some shit for doing that, right? But I think if anything, that's clearly a sign of, obviously he wasn't feeling it or didn't have it something the first 5 motos, right? And then, so maybe he's just still not 100% confident in his bike. And then B, that's Daddy Tomac to me of, if I'm not 110% confident that I'm going to nail one of the craziest obstacles in the outdoors, that I'm not even going to try to send it every lap when it doesn't matter at this point, And he's not going to win the championship because he's not going to lose the championship because he didn't do Larocco's leap this weekend.
Yeah, he's going to lose it because Ferrandis is a beast. That's why he's going to lose it.
Yeah, that's my point. Yeah. He's already, effectively lost the championship, and it's not if it comes down to he needed one more, 2 more positions that he could have gained from RedBud this weekend, then
yeah, but you can probably look at every race throughout the whole schedule and be like, he could have got a position here if he would have hit this.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's going to come down to that. Like the chances of it coming down to being 2 positions that he didn't get because he didn't nail Larocco's leap.
Yeah.
Somebody call me a retard, in a few months. But that's just not going to be what happened. And so I think that was him saying, I don't need to do this. I'm not going to.
He was the fastest guy, hands down, that didn't hit the leap. Also, all the other fast times were guys hitting leaps. He was the only one that didn't make it his mission to clear the leap as often as he could, and he was still fast.
And that's the thing, like that's him still at the same time also like hanging his balls over the bar pad being like, I didn't need to.
Yeah, very true. I don't know really what happened on the first one. I'm not 100% certain. He just kind of stalled out in 4th place, but I think what happened was Ferrandis, AP, and Roczen kind of, I think they put enough of a gap while he was trying to battle back that or battling with, I can't even remember who he was battling with. Oh, he was going back and forth with like Craig and Sexton and stuff like that. He was kind of battling with those guys for a little bit, and then I think I remember Barsha being up like right next to him too. And I was like, oh man, this might be a decent one, but I can't 100% remember. But it was, he got stuck in a couple battles for his spot, like 4th, 5th position, that kind of let the other 3 walk away from him at that point. Because it looked like the top 3 in Moto 1 weren't really battling until maybe the last 7-8 minutes, and then it got crazy. But they looked like they were more worried about just putting a gap on everybody so that they could go to battle. But and then that's also Craig. Like, where'd Craig come from?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was expecting him to do better. I remember who was it that was talking about Paravinos, maybe? Somebody was talking about how they were texting with Craig, and he was just saying he was just pissed that he was getting 10th. He was like, I'm better than this. Like, I'm tired of getting 10th. And when you hear a guy say they're tired of getting 10th, I was like, okay,
oh yeah,
probably a pretty good reason to expect that. I didn't think he was going to go 5-5. I expected him to go 8-8 maybe, but 5-5, yeah,
dude,
and maybe that was one of those things. Was he clearing the leap? I don't remember seeing him much on the broadcast, if any. Really,
I think he did when he was like battling with some of the guys around him.
Yeah,
he wasn't shy about hitting it.
So maybe he had the Yamaha advantage this weekend and was just using that. Because we were talking about 250s and we were talking before the show. I think this was a weekend where some of the guys ending up where they were is because of that being a huge advantage for certain people over other guys.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think the Yamaha 450 has as much advantage over some of the other ones.
No, not as much, but
yeah.
I mean, it's definitely, it's got something.
What is it? There is a lot of Yamahas in the top 5, though. Like, the whole team is in the top 5.
Yeah, all 3 of them.
Kawasaki's and Hondas. The Hondas actually looked real good this weekend as well. I don't know what was up with the KTMs. I haven't ridden them enough to really know if maybe they just like they have a higher over rev, and that being a longer track, maybe that had something to do with it. But I don't know. I know Cooper, maybe the last like 3 minutes, the last lap, maybe 3 laps, he looks so tired on both motos. Like, his riding position was affected. It looked like he was so tired. So I don't know kind of what was going on there. He still finished good because he was battling through the whole beginning parts of the motos, but it definitely didn't look like Cooper, coming in the last parts of the race. And you can't blame the weather. The weather was beautiful. I think Michael was there. I was there. I had a couple other buddies that were there. I mean, it was great. It was definitely t-shirt and shorts weather, but it wasn't like, oh my God, I have to find shade style where it's been like that in the past, and we're getting ready to get into that again. So I can't 100% blame the weather, but yeah, he
was up there in first that one moto. I think it may be I don't know, something about just not having moto time, with Supercross being the focus. And then too, I heard on the Moto 60 show, Kiefer was saying that it looked like that he saw some photos where that Webb was trying some different triple clamps this weekend, and was thinking that maybe he'd do better, because maybe they were testing a new part and maybe they liked it. But it could definitely be just kind of chasing setting stuff, which I think is kind of interesting. And I think part of the argument when they were talking about that was that, clearly KTM had some settings last year that worked because Marv was doing so well, and the fact that neither one of them are doing.
Well, let's not put Marv and Webb in the same category as far as outdoors. I don't think that's very fair to either one of them. I mean, Marv he's great outdoors. Mm-hmm. He had bad luck in the first one where I think you're the one that told me that he broke a front wheel or something,
Yeah,
you
he
know?
had a wheel issue.
So it's, I mean, but if it comes down to those two, Marv versus Webb outdoors, I'm taking Marv 100% of the time.
Oh, I am too, but that's what I'm saying. The fact that neither one of them, it's like something else is up with those two, because the fact that Marv can't even be like, oh, just give me my settings from last year.
Yeah.
I'm going to ride with that. I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's but if Cooper didn't get good starts this weekend, I would fully expect to see him outside of the top 10. The only thing that saved him this weekend was good starts.
Yeah. I'm looking at his lifetimes were
He just looked
not
off, man.
that high. Yeah, I was thinking that maybe he just, he would have done a quick fade to seventh and that he would have been like seventh no matter what. But yeah, with those lap times, he wouldn't have really been catching too many people.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, maybe it is a bike issue, I mean, if they're messing around with triple clamps and stems and all that stuff, maybe he's just getting all pumped up or he's getting too much of the front suspension, like jamming him into the arms and the wrists, and it's not pumping him up but fatiguing him. It's I mean, it's a little late in the season to be messing with triple clamp angles. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
At least I would think it is. That's usually one of the first things that you have a decent idea about where you want it to be. You want 22, 23, 24, anything outside of that range is kind of hard, but it's, yeah, I don't know. It didn't look like Cooper to me.
But also at the same time, I'd imagine that, if they realize they're out of the championship hunt already, it's kind of,
yeah,
let's literally race test this shit.
Yeah. That's speaking of the championship stuff, let me throw it up here real quick. Let me do my clicky button stuff.
Oh yeah, where are we at? Where's my sheet? Here we are. Yeah, so the guy in first place on the podium for all the motos so far, 8 out of 8. Dylan Ferrandis with 179 points. Ken Roxon, I wouldn't have thought he's going to be in second place with 165, 8 motos in, but he is.
Oh, yeah.
Congrats to him. He's been riding his ass off. Third place, Aaron Plessinger, 143 points. Not too far. Was it 36 points off first place? He's definitely in the hunt for a podium in the championship series, because right behind him is Chase Sexton in fourth place with 132 points, followed by Eli Tomac, who could sneak up and be a podium contender in the championship series over the next however many motos that is. It's 14 motos. We'll see how that's going to turn out. I see maybe AC coming up and being a top 5, sneaking up if he gets his stuff together, but having motos like he's been having, like that
second moto killed him. I still don't think he had a front brake, man. That's I think I texted you and Jesse whenever he would come by, and the damage to the front of that bike was crazy. But he had, of course, they're coming by me a little bit faster than my eyes can register what's going on when I'm looking at small parts, but it almost looked like the banjo bolt that goes into his master cylinder for his front brake had broke, or the line broke right there at that fitting. And it looked like it was just kind of flopping around. It could be just the damage of the bike playing tricks on me, but it almost looked like he lost his front brake on that second moto.
He said in the podium interviews, I mean, clearly he was not happy with his performance, but he said that it was a situation. The only brake thing he mentioned was that his brake and clutch levers both got moved drastically from where they should be in opposite directions. So he was not riding with
I could see that.
equal whatever. And so, and I mean, I was just thinking in my head when he was talking about if they were really anywhere near that far off of where they normally were to be able to still finish 23rd overall riding like that.
Maybe that's what I was seeing. If his front brake, I think on the clutch side, he broke the his handguard. I think he broke it off. So that's I could see that one, and obviously he was shifting just fine. But if his lever or if the whole perch was bent up like into his wrist, that would make a lot more sense as to why that cable looked like it was broken when he was coming by. And it was also when he was coming through that short little like 45 before the finish line, he wasn't touching his front brake on the second moto, but he had his handguard was all crushed down into the lever as well. So I couldn't see into it very well, but I mean I was pretty close. I think I showed you the pictures. I was close enough that you could see pretty much everything that you needed to see. But
yeah, he wasn't having a good weekend for staying out of the dirt, unfortunately. Yeah, but I don't see him being a podium battler for the championship, unfortunately, this time around. I had high hopes, but not now. I don't know if he can catch up to stay in the podium with AP being consistent like he's been. Kenny and Dylan, and then Eli coming back. I don't know
AP
if
definitely
come back around.
AP definitely likes that that new team, man. It 180-degree difference from where he was before they did all those changes on the team and stuff like that.
Yeah, the team and whatever they did to the bike is definitely doing well for him. And then you can't argue with when you're in a position like that and you just feel better, things just start happening.
Yeah. Oh, he's definitely having fun this year. 100%.
Oh yeah. He's having so much fun.
But it's other than that, man, what else do we have? Like 250 and 450 news-wise that we can jump into? We still got a couple minutes before we have to do some of the closing stuff.
News-wise, I don't think there's been too much.
I haven't seen much.
News-wise yet. Nothing that we haven't already talked about, with all the way too early silly season stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think there's too much news. I'm trying to think of. I think the closest thing to news that I was kind of surprised that just Jeremy Martin, being ballsy enough to come back to race and doing so well. And then Mart's already back riding again. Can't put those kids down. Unless
you offer them a 450.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just don't understand all the talk around J Mart. Like that's that decision. It's either a team decision where the higher ups are like, "Nah, man, this is dumb. Why are you doing it?" Like we're not going to let you ride because it's just dumb. Everything's settled the way it is. What it is. He's going to have to ride. It's no big deal. Or he's legitimately, and this is the part that I think is stupid. And I don't think it's this way. I think there's something else that we're not seeing is that they're legitimately playing him, and he thinks he may not have a ride next year. And they're like, "Nah, man, you got to go out and ride and prove it to us."
I don't think so.
If that's the case, like. The whole thing's so stupid, and that's what I'm saying. I think it's so stupid to me that I don't think that's the case. There's something else. Either he's in physically feeling a lot better than we all think he is, and they're just kind of, playing it, or
you have to remember he was Yamaha's top hope for a championship. That's a lot of weight, man. Especially when you don't finish Supercross, you're one of the top prospects for winning the Supercross 250 championship.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come out and outdoors and everybody's like, yeah, go get ready for outdoors. You're going to win the championship this year. You're going to. And then poof, you don't. I mean, for having that much weight on him, which he's been doing this for long enough, like, to realize the weight is going to be there. I mean, when you are literally the most experienced 250 rider in the whole field, you're going to have that weight on you every year regardless. But maybe it's just him, where he puts that extra weight on himself, where he's like, I just want to go ride. I have so much to prove.
And I can see that, but then at the same time, and maybe it's just where I'm so out of touch of the whole decision-making thing is that, and can't understand why they're thinking about it this way, is that I get that and I respect that from him, but then they're still not telling us something about how bad his injuries are or aren't and what the real expected recovery time is on that. Because there's not a single person that is just like, oh yeah, that stuff will heal, whatever it's say for him to go out and ride and potentially really risk re-injuring himself to where he can't come back fully healthy and kill it in Supercross.
Yeah.
I just say there's like a piece of the puzzle that they're not really being forthcoming about that makes any of the possible scenarios a little confusing for the why,
Yeah.
And
I think a lot of that has to do with they probably just pick the what would be the longest expected recovery, and that's maybe what they just put in the press release. And then like with mine is an example of, they said 6 weeks to a year. So I just picked 6 months felt right. I was like, I want to be riding again in 6 months. And it was 8 weeks and 1 day, So it's when you hear 6 months and then all of a sudden, boom, he's back 3 races later, which is it's got to be close to 8 weeks or something like that. I mean, maybe that's just what it was. Maybe he got lucky and a surgeon had a good day and all his physical therapy went off without much problems, and he just felt it. And he did good for just jumping back in and getting a top 5 after not really riding for a whole year. I mean, he did good, but I think it's probably just a case of that. I don't think it's them just kind of holding stuff back or something like that. At least the team wise, I think it's them being extremely pessimistic with their assumptions on how long he could be out based on doctor and physical therapy recommendations, which everyone that rides a motorcycle, quad, snowcross, anything like that, what your doctor says versus what your body says, there's 2 completely different things. And I have 0 friends that are doctors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, our chosen hobby and their chosen profession clash really hard when it comes to, am I ready to ride or am I not? 99.99999%. They're going to say no, absolutely not. You shouldn't. But you're like, I can hold on to the bike. I can still send it. Like, I'm feeling good. I'm back in the gym lifting. I'm back running. Like, I have a little bit of limited motion. However, when you're in the zone, you're not thinking about that. You're like, your body is just going to do what your body needs to do in order to get through that race. So, and I think it's the team being, like I said, pessimistic with their guesses on when he should return, and hoping that it's sooner and praying that it's not later. Yeah. So.
And I could definitely see that. But then if that's the thing, then still, like, on the broadcast, all they're talking about this weekend is like, oh yeah, all we know is that he just broke his fingers. He's still dealing with like a messed up wrist. He's got a sore shoulder. Yeah. Like, if he's feeling better, tell us.
He was
come out there and be like,
yeah,
come, tell us like, oh yeah, the broken fingers are healed up. This is what the thing is. Not just been like, yeah, why is a guy out there riding when he's totally busted and then coming out there and doing 5th? Like, are we just gonna take this result meaning he's healed now?
His whole shoulder was taped up, and he definitely was sporting a brand new Mobis brace that he hasn't raced with in a long time. So it's the fingers. I mean, obviously he can hang on to the bars, so his fingers must be all right. But like, the wrist and the shoulder definitely took some care for them to fix it. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. That's hard to guess.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where I wish they would be a little bit more forthcoming about like,
Yeah.
oh, it's not that he's just racing. I mean, it's kind of funny in a way if you're the team and being like, oh, we're just going to send this guy out there that everybody thought was broken and let him kick ass. But it's like, if you're going to send him out there, I don't know, just tell everybody, he's actually healing up. Exactly like you said, he's actually healing up a lot better than we thought. And, we're going to send him out there, see how he feels after this weekend, and see if it's a thing that he can keep doing.
He's also one of 8 guys on that team, and he hasn't been in the media spotlight at all because he's missed so many races that he's missed so many at this point. It's almost easy to forget he races in the professional series, So I can also see that. Plus, if he's out there doing practice laps and doing all that, I mean, I think they did they released it on like Tuesday or Wednesday, which I get it. You want to make sure he's 100% committed to racing before you do a press release saying, hey, he's racing.
Yeah. But I think they even said that it was supposed to be, they were going to try to not even do that, but somebody saw him riding. They were going to wait till like Thursday or Friday and do it as kind of a surprise. Wait till actually everybody got to Red Bud.
Yeah.
But they didn't make it.
Yamaha does play fuck games, man. They have since the 80s, so you can't be too surprised about that either.
Yeah.
Where like you have DeCoster with KTM, who's very straightforward, like kind of what he says is exactly what it is. And then on the flip side, you have Yamaha, who plays games, man. That's what they're known for, And if you ever want some crazy reading material, just look up crazy things Yamaha factory has done since like 1980. And some of those stories are absolutely insane. You're like, how do these guys even still have a team? It is insane with what they've done. But maybe I'll have to put something together for like in between seasons when we got some downtime. Maybe we'll go over all that stuff and maybe talk about it.
Start a list. Start making notes.
Right. Until then, we got the Sunstar drive of the race. Got Justin Rodbell, who I counted 26. They were all over the place trying to track down who got the most passes and who didn't. This week was hard. And then we got Garrett Marchbanks with 24, who we didn't really talk about him, but he looked good this weekend.
Yeah, I made note of his ups. Both he did 13 in Moto 1 and 11 in Moto 2. I mean, boo on him for getting shitty starts and having to do it, but that's not easy to do it twice.
Yeah. And that's the Bro Tacos sauced it. I went with something that wasn't bad this weekend for sauced it, and I picked Lorenz the third with the 881 just for what I saw, like him and his family and I'm assuming brother or mechanic or something like that, what they were doing in the pits to get that kid back out to at least make one moto. And that was the one that really jumped to me. I mean, like I said, I'd be surprised if anybody actually knows this kid or anything like that, but he's a super nice kid, and absolutely crushed that he couldn't race. So I don't know. What about you, man?
I was looking through and I wish I remember who it was that they thought was Russell on the broadcast, because that was one hell of a nasty thing. It looked like it could have been some broken legs from what looked like a bike locking up midair. But I think my real sauced it one was Faulkner casing the lead. Yeah. It just because it looked like he was gonna keep it going from the slow-mo shot of it, but then the momentum got changed off a little bit and he just got bucked off of it. It looked like he hit it, bounced, and was gonna kind of slowly do it, land back on the other side of it. But once he got midair, the bike was like, nope, just kidding, and it just kicked him off of it. He wasn't even close to making it.
I'll have to go back and see if I can find it. I didn't see it. I was running around talking to people. But
I'm honestly not sure if the one that they showed on the broadcast was from the race or from practice. But period.
It had to have been from practice, because if it was from the race, it would have been right in front of me. And it
was practice. But yeah, the footage of it, he just wasn't even close to hitting it.
Oh, yeah.
A good halfway up the jump, hit it. Looked like he was going to ride it out.
Hey, I know how that feels.
Fucked him off.
That's how I have this sweet scar, landing on the wrong side of the landing ramp.
Yeah, exactly what he did. It was rough.
Other than that, I don't have much else, man. It was a fun weekend. Had its ups, had its downs. You know, it's nothing that can't be fixed. You know, it was a good weekend. I got some videos that I'll throw up in Discord if I can. I have to edit them to be able to fit the Discord little thing. If not, I might just slam them all together and throw them up on YouTube and then share the shit out of it, man. So, of the first laps with everybody. So, well, I think I sent them to you guys on Facebook or whatever. Those dudes ripping through on the first laps. So I'll throw those up on Discord, or I might even just shoot them over to Jesse to throw them up on the website, poweredtotheground.com. Also, big shout out to Sean, Bro Taco Hot Sauce. Don't forget to use code PTTG for your 20% discount. Get you some hot sauce. Get you some hot sauce, but don't be the sauced it moment unless it's something awesome.
Unless it's something awesome. And or you get video.
Oh, yeah.
Video either way. Yeah, I had to go a whole week without my Bro Taco and had to use other hot sauce this past week. It was sad.
That's everywhere I stopped only had like Cholula and Tabasco. And I was like, I don't even want hot sauce anymore.
Yeah, it's just not the same.
Yeah. Like Sean legitimately turned me into a sauce snob. And I can't complain about it. No. But also, Sunstar Sprockets and Chains, sunstar-braking.com. Use code PTTG during checkout to get 30% off your order. We already said stop by power2theground.com. Jesse's working on some awesome stuff. We hope to have some stuff out by the end of this season. So keep your eyes and ears open. We will let you know once me and Tiller know, I guess. I just know he's working on a bunch of stuff. And also, don't forget this podcast and the website is powered by Nova Pro Media. I can't 100% remember the website. It's like novapro.media, I believe. Other than that, take care, you guys. Remember, don't case the leap. It's faster to clear it. And we will catch you all next week for another wild and wonderful weekend. Where are we at this weekend?
Southwick?
Southwick. Yeah, maybe.
Southwick. Yep, the Wick.
Nice. My brain is fried from everything going on this weekend. But we will catch you all for Southwick. If not before, definitely on Monday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks for all your comments. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.
Come join us on the Discord.
Yeah, and come join us on the Discord. It's up on the website, or just post, hey, what's the Discord on one of our videos, and we'll get you hooked up, man. All right. Until next time. Peace, guys.
Peace.